Hello, amazing one. How are you? Emotions. I don't know about you, but I have become so aware recently. I think because of all the things that people are going through, all the different things that are coming up in people's sessions, it's really made me become aware of my own experience with emotions throughout my entire lifetime. And it's made me look at how we have relationships with those, how other people are doing with emotions. I guess it goes without saying that the last couple of years have been like a mismatch of emotions for a lot of people, and what seems like a real roller coaster ride. And one of the things that has become so apparent is that we are really taught to misunderstand emotions. We are taught to have a relationship with emotions that is is so warped and is so distressing, really, that the way that we experience emotions as they are truly meant to be is usually nothing like that, right? Uh, Kids do it. Kids do emotions well, but we tend to help them not do emotions well. So, what I mean by that, I mean that we get conditioned as people. This conditioning, which is built around conditioning, can look like a lot of different things, right? So, the conditioning can come through, and we get taught how to be conditioned through our belief systems, through our behaviors, through our thoughts, our actions, what pushes our buttons, what triggers us, the way that we approach conversations, all different kinds of things we get deeply conditioned in. And we do get conditioned so heavily. And I mean, so heavily. It's like, imagine if we're a piece of paper and someone places a massive rock on top of it. How, as a piece of paper, you cannot move, you cannot float around. Maybe you have a little bit of your paper flapping out around the edge of the rock and you can move that way. But essentially, we as human beings get so massively conditioned that it weighs us down and we become really constricted and blocked, and we suffer. We create suffering for ourselves. We experience suffering from the world around us. And one of those ways that we get really heavily conditioned is with the concept of emotions. So, the five main emotions that kind of sit as an umbrella in the concept of emotions are joy, sadness, fear, grief, and worry. And then there is a whole bunch of other emotions, obviously, that can, you could think about and would umbrella or fall down underneath that umbrella. But they are the five main ones. And we are conditioned to believe that certain emotions are good and certain emotions are bad. Certain emotions are positive, certain emotions are negative. And that actually not only creates such rigid belief systems and rigid mindsets that we impose on ourselves and then we impose on other people, that yes, it creates suffering, but it really prevents us from being able to experience the moment that we are experiencing with that emotion as it's truly designed to be. So, emotions are energy in motion. That's what an emotion is. It's an energy in motion. Now, think about when you experience an emotion, it doesn't matter whether it is grief or fear or joy or worry or any of those or any of the other ones. You can feel it in your body when you connect to it. It is an energy that is trying to be in motion. And what a lot of the conditioning that happens when we are little kids, and we pass that on because that's the conditioning, that's what gets taught. It's so pounded into people. Joy is good, sadness is bad, grief is bad, fear is bad, worry is bad, or worry is unnecessary, or whatever the belief is around that, that when we go in to have that, any number of those experiences, that we will usually have a really intolerant reaction to it. We will judge it, think that it's bad, and then we'll try to move away from it. And lots of people do that. There's so many different ways that we do that. Just have a think about the way that you do that. When you experience an energy that's in motion, an emotion, think about all the ways that you have either taught yourself, or society's taught you, or you've been deeply conditioned from wherever, that tells you what to do with that. So you might try to distract yourself and move on with something else. You might actually punish yourself in some way. You might, I'm just thinking of some analogies. You can actually get so stuck in it. So instead of leaning into the experience, which is the energy in motion, and the experience for whatever is helping to generate that emotion, instead of leaning into it, we often sit quite uncomfortably with it, sometimes even paralyzed. And what that does is it blocks us. It's literally like putting us in quicksand. And so then the energy that's in motion, the emotion, it stays. And then that's why we will feel sadness in this moment. We're conditioned that sadness is bad, and we want to get away from it. We want to be joyful. We want to be happy. We want to be all the stuff that's positive, apparently. So we will try to switch to that. But in trying to get away from where we are in the experience that we're having, it will actually trap us. We will get stuck in that. And the sadness that we could have lent into and maybe would have taken a few minutes to move through as the energy was in motion, we could still be in that sadness 3 weeks later. Except now it's got more intense because we're still not leaning into it, right? Think about this with kids, and we were kids. You watch a kid experience the emotion that they're experiencing. They give everything they have to it. They lean into it. They are the best ones to relearn how to lean into something, okay? I always remember somebody that I learnt some Chinese medicine from years ago, and they'd experienced quite significant grief around the loss of a child. And this person was talking about how they had the energy of grief come up sometimes in different environments. And this one time they were on the bus, and this energy of grief came up. And when I say lean into it, I mean be with it, be okay with it. Don't try to reject it. Don't label it. Don't judge it. Don't get cranky at yourself. Don't try to blame something else. Just be with it, because that's all it wants to do, so that it can move through. And this person was on the bus, and this motion of grief came up. And instead of trying to block it, and because what we're conditioned to do is say to ourselves, oh, we're on the bus, we can't cry, that's not appropriate, like what will people think, and and this all these stories around that. And this person then let the energy of grief come through, and the person started to cry. And this person was not concerned, because it is not this person's concern about whether people are watching it or okay with it or uncomfortable with it or not. They just simply are allowing the process that they're in to unfold as it's naturally meant to unfold. And that's what kids do. Kids allow the experience that they're having for it to be able to not only move through them, but then they move through it as well. So when kids are experiencing an emotion, they'll do all different kinds of things, right? They might plonk themselves down on the ground, down on the earth, and they might lie down on their back, and then they might just hollow their lungs out, all right? And people say, oh, but I can't do that. Why can't you do that? The only reason you think you can't do that is because of a whole set of belief systems and stereotyping that says you can't do that. And one of the biggest things that we're in the process of doing right now is unbecoming the belief systems, unbecoming the things that we thought we were, unbecoming the things that we were taught that we were supposed to be. We're unbecoming all that. So then if you want to go find a park and lay underneath a tree and bawl your eyes out because there is a motion of grief energy trying to move through, then do that. And with fear, sometimes fear is your intuition saying, can you just have a look at that again? We've missed something. And sometimes that's worry as well. Yeah. So the more we can get really comfortable with energy and motion and either sit with it, be with it, lean into it, and follow what it wants you to do. So what I have found, and remember, I do work with kids, but I learn from every session that I do with kids because they are master wisdom keepers that help us to relearn how to be more authentic and more kid-like again, I suppose, because that's really where our true nature sits for a lot of us in how we were as kids. But in working with adults as well, what I find when they start to really embody this, and I ask them, well, how does that then show up for you when you simply follow the cues that your body mind complex has given you to experience this energy in motion, what comes up for you? And sometimes people say what they end up doing is making noises, whether it be humming or whistling or singing. That's sometimes how the energy in motion wants to move through them. Sometimes they'll go for a run, they'll get up and walk around, they'll get out in the garden, sink their hands into the earth. Sometimes they cry. Sometimes they wriggle around and just shake their whole body to decompress it. So there's a few steps. There is a complete reevaluation of the beliefs that we have towards emotions. There is the resetting of our understanding that it is energy in motion. We then have to question how we expect other people to do their emotions and become comfortable with other people doing their emotions however they do their emotions. Our responsibility is, how do I do emotions? What's my relationship with emotions? And then understanding that when that energy comes up, the best thing that we can do is listen and feel, how do I need to work with this energy that's in motion? Is there a way that I can work with this energy in motion? And then go about doing that. So I would love for you to try that. I would love for you to then come back. So like save this video and come back after you've been trying this for a while and let me know what works for you. What did you find? I had this particular emotion coming up as an energy in motion, and it prompted me to do this. Let me know. I also would love to know, what does this mean to you? What were you taught about emotions? What's your relationship been to them? Because I know it's taken some real self-inquiry and some honest, not only self-discussion, but honest discussions with other people and colleagues to really be vulnerable and honest about this, because it is so deeply embedded into us to be utterly uncomfortable and paralyzed sometimes by emotions and think so poorly about them when they're just energy in motion, right? So I'd really love to hear your thoughts and what your experience has been. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, depending on where you're watching this, of course, because I'm now plastered across a whole bunch of different platforms. So if there's a little subscribe button there, click that. If there's a little bell button there to notify you when the next video drops, click that too if you like. And I would dearly love it if you would become part of my community. If you haven't already, it's completely free, and all you have to do is jump onto my website, JacquieMcIntyre.com, and subscribe to the newsletters that we send out. Do we call them newsletters anymore? Yes, of course we do. Who cares? They're little email newsletters that we send out with love, and they've got really cool stuff in them all the time. All right. So jump on over, do that, and you can, of course, unsubscribe any darn time you like. I will see you really soon. Bye for now.